I'd like to ask about your field of expertise. How do you see it? Are you a psychologist or more like a esotericist?
You know, Natalia, every time I hear this question, it sort of makes me scratch my head because I do so many different things. I give private consultations and seminars, I lead training sessions and do business consulting. So, when I look at all these activities, I realize that I can hardly narrow them down to a particular field. I do analytics, diagnostics, I work with energy and explain cause-effect relationships, both in personal issues and in business. I deal with people's interactions and their spiritual energy from past and future. I help them discover new opportunities and see more options to choose from. I see people that label each other when they say, "You're a life coach, you can do this and that," or "You are a psychologist, you do this and that," or "You're an analyst responsible for this and that," and so on. What I'm saying is that when you combine all these talents and do different activities, you seem to play against the rules. It's like you go against the labels. So when people ask me, "How should we introduce you?" I say, "Let it just be Alexander Palienko, that's it." And if they keep pushing me like, "Wait, it can't be just like this, people need to hear about your high social status," I simply say that high social status matters only to those who fear to take responsibility and to try to hide behind some,
Authority.
yeah, labels, whatever they define themselves.
Yes, and it happens for a reason. There are so many people these days, and I really want to know your opinion on those who act like, "Hey fellas, I woke up this morning, just lost 4 pounds, and now I will teach you all how to lose weight." I don't know if it's good or bad. There are some real experts around, but there are also some who are just trying to assert themselves. Talk nonsense, at least how I see it. So my point is that there are way too many so-called experts to choose from, and if everyone will just say, "Hey, I am Jan Doe, love me the way I am," this kind of behavior may lead to poor consequences. Or not. What do you think?
Well, whatever happens to you is about you. You surround yourself with whatever reflects you. For instance, Alexander Palienko's seminars are not for everyone. Many people do not get me because what I say, the speed, complexity, and the large volume of information I give is beyond comprehension for many. Some people can process and understand what I say, others can't. There's a strict process of cutting off a number of the people that don't get me, and you know, I'm all for it. I will keep providing the environment to enhance the quality, concentration, meaningfulness, and the impact of information I give. That's when I'll have only those around me who get what I offer. And of course, some people just listen to my voice without digging into the deep and they feel positive, relaxing vibes.
You mean they don't get a thing?
I give you the information, and yes, it's based on my experience, which means my perception, my energy, my abilities and talents in some way, but for you, the most important thing is you. I'm like a tool that can help you change yourself. Besides, my recommendations may work fine for one person and possibly a disaster for another one. Some people improve, are happier and wealthier versions of themselves, while others get destroyed because they are firmly attached to their past, trapped in their old-fashioned habits. If people accept my energy and my knowledge only information-wise, they will only hurt themselves because I destroy the past, and if the person associates himself or herself with the past and doesn't proceed into the future, I destroy them together with their past.
Wow, okay. I want you to tell us more about the effects on those 4 main areas you've mentioned: relationships, money, health, and love. Or did I mix it up? Personal growth, right?
You know, loving always implies growing and learning something new. Loving is always about advancing and moving forward, which is opposed to love that stands just one step apart from hate. This love is different. It's more about claims and demands, when one person uses his partner to compensate for the lack of self-love. In this love, you owe big time to the person who married you, and he or she will use you and abuse your tolerance. The thing is, there's always someone who simply doesn't get this and who will try to prove me wrong and twist the words around. But if both partners choose the path of personal growth, if they accept each other, if they keep learning new things and try to be better, this is about being modern, being in the moment, seeing opportunities in every difficulty, gaining new professional, intellectual, information processing skills, expanding your horizons in self-fulfillment, then both partners are attracted to each other. What do we love most about our loved ones? The unknown. So when you love someone, you love his or her personal laws that attract you. And this feeling must be abundant in ourselves, because the greatest love is when you love yourself from top to toe and you can share this excess of love with another person. And here's...
What about jealousy? Is it when you neither love yourself nor your partner?
Jealousy is what you feel when you don't move forward, but your partner does. They have more energy than you, and you want to keep it, hold them back, and destroy them. Roughly said, it's like they graduated from high school and got into college while you failed, and you want them to give up in college and stay with you because jealousy is like an irrational demand. We all have dogmas that impose limits on our loved ones. The challenge here is to allow your partner to be him or herself. You love them, and the only thing you expect from them is to be happy regardless of where they are, with or without you. They will do things that are convenient for you or things that are not. You want your partners to be happy, enjoy their personal growth, and build their own do's and don'ts. It's not like, hey, I love you, but here are my rules and I want you to live by them because it makes me feel comfortable and society will support me in all of this.
Well said. Thank you. Why do you think so many clients ask me questions about family issues like this? I live with an abusive husband who humiliates me, does this and that. It's clear that these situations are rooted in childhood and values like, you have to live with this, it's your duty, etc. It's a sad truth, but when is it the right moment to make a decision not to save this family?
Well, it depends. Some people enjoy being suppressed and destroyed. They want to live through all these troubles. I remember a young woman came to me and told me about her husband, who was unemployed and an alcoholic, humiliated and abused her. I asked her, "What do you want to hear from me?" Let's imagine that you go out and share this story about your husband with 10 random people on the street. Ask them what they think you should do. And I think that 9 out of 10 will tell you, listen, if I were you, I'd leave him. One may refrain and say, well, it's up to you. Her next question made me say something unexpected. She said, okay then, if I leave my husband, do you guarantee that I will have a relationship with another man?
So it's all about the fear of loneliness.
I told her, look, I can tell you for sure that you should stay with him. If you are happy with this life, if you are happy with all this humiliation, and you're fine with what he does to you, it means you're immature. You either need to die from what he does to you, or you need to learn, wallow in this abuse, until you can see it clearly and move to a new level. My only advice to you is this: listen to your heart. If your heart is full of fear, face it and live with this fear, but do not lie to yourself, because fear is what kills, and love is what helps you grow. If you love yourself, you won't allow anyone to humiliate, abuse, or destroy you.
What about this fear of loneliness?
The fear of loneliness arises when you don't take responsibility and don't want to be mature. All you want is to consume. I call it vampirism. The fear of loneliness is when you think, I'm a loser and I destroy my partner like a failure, and your partner doesn't want to die and tries to destroy you physically. So when we see that a man has a drinking problem, it's because his woman is reluctant to change him and doesn't want to fill him up with love. It's 80%. 20% of men drink because that's who they are and have family problems or childhood issues where they grew up in the wrong social environment. But those who choose personal growth go to a psychologist or to an astrologist to try out family constellations or holotropic breathwork, attend my sessions on personal growth about overcoming and analyzing their life to change an aspect. Such people understand what they need to realize that the purpose of life is to be happy and enjoy it. Despite all hard experiences and our parents' old-fashioned views, we are responsible for our lives. But if a person fails to take responsibility for his or her life and finds excuses like, it's all my parents' fault, I grew up in the wrong environment, my family was like this, that's why I'm such a jackass and always will be, that's his choice. Deal with it.
I recently got a question from a mother of 2 who married a man and moved to the countryside. Her husband left her and she had to take care of her children and pay a mortgage for the house they lived in. On top of that, she lost her job. She needed advice on how to deal with all this. What do you do when the situation is that hopeless?
In my experience, there is no such thing as a hopeless situation. I know a lot of people who simply started enjoying what they had. They had that inner alertness to face a complete chaos in their life when everything goes to hell and dies. When we accept the worst-case scenario with ease and readiness and start enjoying whatever happens and loving life, our energy starts attracting new options, money, activities, meaning. energy, and people who will change us. However, when you think negatively and play victim, no one will come and no one will save you because it's your responsibility. Whatever we do to manipulate our children and blame that asshole for leaving us, we still have the best possible life scenario, the best one in terms of view of life and mindset. If we think positively, creatively, and notice all good things in our life, see opportunities instead of problems, have that spark in our eyes and love life, then we enjoy everything, our garden, our home, our family, just our morning cup of coffee. We enjoy brushing teeth, doing workouts, breathing exercises, or walks in the neighborhood. Everyone will love us and will be eager to interact with us, offer financial support, opportunities, love, and friendship.
What is overweight? How much weight is too much?
Overweight is a result of overthinking, thinking through denial. When you have enough knowledge and skills but do not apply them, it's a hormonal imbalance. When you try to be tolerant and so goody-goody, you know how to make things right, but you do it with denial. We live up to social standards instead of physiological programs that allow us to be our true selves. Do not be afraid to say no to those who try to manipulate us.
How can someone figure out if he or she needs to lose weight or not?
It's very easy, you know.
Is there some formula or you know it by feeling?
I think we all know these formulas. And yes, you can add or take a few pounds, but in general, a 5-foot, 5-inch man should weigh up to 150 pounds. And for a woman of the same height, it's up to 138 pounds. You may add or take 10 pounds according to your feelings. And here's the thing, we lose weight not to be skinny like a cow, but more like a sexy panther, which means being active and feeling the drive of life. And I know it for sure, we achieve that when we think positively, when we have an open mind, when we stop restraining ourselves, when a woman doesn't butch up and a man is not a wuss doing things because of the family and children or out of fear. Well, it's a real challenge, damn it. As a result, we have health, money, and relationship problems, including a lack of self-love. To deal with these issues, you need to go and do whatever you feel the need to do. Go whenever you need to go. And what's most important, never put social standards above your love for yourself. Social influence manipulates our minds and promotes tolerance as the supreme value. This tolerance in medicine means that our immune system allows cancer cells, viruses, and bacteria to live in our body, which means death. Tolerance is death. It's death to society, to the human body, and when we welcome tolerance, we promote worldwide destruction. That's it. We destroy our own values because we adapt to the weakest ones. We adapt to cancer. We adapt to viruses. And here, if we take a look at people, or let's say a virus issue that, as we all know, has a scary name, COVID-19, just because it was discovered in 2019. Well, yes, the virus has mutated, and yet sickness rates and the mortality rates are practically the same. Meanwhile, here's what we do. We kill the economy. We kill the opportunities to make money. We've postponed a lot of surgeries, which resulted in dozens of more deaths than from COVID-19, while we were allegedly trying to save people from the virus. Besides, it's a well-known fact that any virus is active up to 18 months, and then it dies forever. What did we do? We bowed to the mass media hype and people who run this society, politicians, who live in constant fear and depend on mass media, in which, in its turn, manipulate politicians and take no responsibility. Take a look at Sweden, Azerbaijan, and Belarus. Do they have an increased mortality rate? Did they all die? No one did. I stay in touch with people from Sweden. Restaurants and movie theaters are open. People keep living their normal lives, and nobody is wearing masks. They are doing well. As for Azerbaijan or Belarus, I haven't heard of overcrowded hospitals or corpses lying on the streets. So what is my point? It is pure manipulation. When people are manipulated by the government, it means that the government doesn't want to change and progress. It wants to destroy us. And the people who are at the highest levels of power, people who work for the government, take personal responsibility as if they are generals. They take care of their soldiers and, Lord forbid, anyone dies. As a result, we all are trapped and come under fire. It's important to understand that in this world, people happen to die, and they always will. It's 100% guarantee. But when we kill the economy in our country, when we kill the economy of our families, when we won't allow hundreds of people to have surgeries, people who could have been saved, and those planned surgeries were postponed for months or a year, by doing all this, we commit a bigger crime than when we allowed people to walk unmasked.
I get it. What a powerful idea. I myself thought maybe it was the planet trying to stop us and draw our attention to something important.
You know, there are many levels, and the reboot is one of them. During the lockdown, everybody immediately divided themselves into two groups: those who were blinded by fear and those who took things easy. Those who took it easy, by the way, did it for different reasons. Some were just naive or silly, while others were positive and creative thinkers. Many people in my circle, in fact, almost everyone, caught this virus and didn't feel any severe symptoms. They didn't really notice they were sick. The course of the disease was like in a background mode. I heard some people took antibiotics. Some had been sick for 3, 5, or 10 days. The treatment measures were quite simple: fasting, colonic washing, herbal teas, healthy food, and vitamins. In some cases, people took antibiotics, took colloidal silver, and they would recover. In the end, everyone felt just fine. But people suffering from several chronic diseases is a different story. A chronic disease is always rooted in psychosomatics and mindset, which means closed-minded views and righteousness. When you go shopping and see that some people are friendly, open-minded, others are aggressive and violent. So the society has divided into two groups: those who live in fear versus those who live in love. And this natural division resulted in two different paths of development. One will keep changing and growing, like I said about the fourth dimension, while the other one will be, in fact, under supervision, and they'll play under slightly different rules. So our task is to make personal decisions depending on how much love we have. If you have much love, you take things easy, because love means wealth, health, personal growth, and self-actualization. Those who were full of love during the pandemic reached a new level and started earning more money. Those with old-fashioned and conservative views who chose horizontal growth started degrading. Their business collapsed because the leader wasn't flexible, was narrow-minded, didn't try innovations or new things, and kept working in the same old way.
Thanks a lot. And here's one more question. It's precisely about how we influence our children when we bring them up. The mother may have her opinion on this and that, and the father may have his own. And when they divorce, their views might be quite contradictory to each other. What should parents do to not destroy the child with their difference of opinions? How do they protect their child during this tug-of-war? Some mothers limit the father and child time because the father allegedly does it all wrong. Are there any success formulas for this?
It's pretty easy. Mom and dad are happy if both of them are self-fulfilled and successful. If they both enjoy life, if they are sincere and true to themselves, if they don't give up on their dreams and listen to their hearts, if they choose personal growth, then their children will always succeed. Still, there's a tiny detail. Children tend to depend more on their mother. So the formula is happy mother equals healthy, happy, and successful children. So the more mother enjoys life, the more she loves whatever she does. Learning, cleaning the house, cooking, playing with children, the more she enjoys her thoughts, her actions and decisions, her feelings, the less she gets stuck, the less she plays victim, the less narrow-minded she is, the less tolerant she is, the less she adapts. Her children will always be healthy, self-fulfilled, and passionate about life. They will always do well at school and have this spark of happiness in their eyes. One more thing I know for sure, and statistics probably won't let lie about it, is that mothers who have good and regular sex don't have problems with their children. They are surprisingly healthy and happy, and for some reason do not bother their mom too much, because children directly depend on the energy level of their mother. If she has a hormonal imbalance, which means energy imbalance, children will immediately reflect this, and they will be all clingy, cranky, angry, and throwing tantrums all the time.
What about those moms? I can see it everywhere these days, who are ashamed of being on maternity leave. They believe that being on maternity leave equals being unsuccessful. It's like, oh, my college friend went on maternity leave later than me. She achieved this and that, but I didn't.
Well, it's just an attempt to find an excuse, I believe. Again, it's about personal responsibility for what you have, what you can do to change your life, or what you can say to justify your failure to take actions. It reminds me of what our executive officer in the Army used to say. If you really want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. A maternity leave, in fact, is another opportunity for a breakthrough. It's a joy of being a mother. It's a new view of life before and after. It's a state of happiness and joy, especially if you decide to give birth not to compensate for the failure to fulfill yourself, and now you need to somehow use this energy or it will destroy you, and that's why you bear a child. If you give birth because you are, figuratively speaking, true to your inner son, if you and your partner choose personal growth, you're both happy and enjoy learning something new. If you're so full of love that it's enough to give birth to your child, this happy child will fill you up and add a new meaning to your life. It will change your priorities and help you keep growing. And of course, it's like a new lease of life, a new condition, new experiences, a new hormonal level, and an absolutely new self-perception.
And here's a tricky one. I've been waiting for this question. What do you think of in vitro fertilization? Like you've said that we give birth when we are full of love, but some people just cannot.
Listen, Natalia, there are some narrow-minded folks who claim, how come? If they want a child, they should have one. But you know what? It's all in the Lord's hands. The Bible says, and not a hair of your head shall perish. Period. We are always in the best possible life scenario. What can I say about children born with in vitro fertilization? Well, I have to make a pause here. I need a pause because, in my opinion, of course, we all can give birth to a child, but then he or she, well, let's say, may experience serious problems and hard living conditions that he will have to overcome and learn as life lessons. When the Lord doesn't give his blessing, there's a point. Looking at couples who couldn't conceive a baby, I saw that they didn't have enough energy for a child, and giving birth in this case is a compensation. For this child, it means that he or she will have to learn these lessons in a challenging way, unlike children who were born out of love, or so I wish, or at least in a natural way. And giving birth anyway has to be a deliberate action. It should not be an attempt to keep your partner say something like, I cannot kill the baby, if it happened this way, so be it. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but there are millions of spermatozoids that die and dozens of egg cells that die every now and then instead of becoming a child. Then go and save all egg cells and all spermatozoids. You know it's impossible, right? We just made up a beautiful image and started showing off and dot the I's. When they say, that mommy is happy because she used IVF and now has a child, I want to tell you all that it really is a controversial issue for many of us, but this woman could have a child naturally. I know a woman who quit her crazy job and settled down in the woods to start growing flowers. I don't know, taking care of them, enjoying life. This couple couldn't conceive for a long time, and even IVF didn't help. And she got pregnant just like that. What I mean is that when she became a true woman who stopped living in fear and stress, she got her hormonal levels back to normal and gave birth. And while there are women who got their fallopian tubes removed, and you probably know that the left tube represents the issues with her man, her attitude towards men, and the right tube represents her attitude to herself. So when a woman doesn't love herself, she activates a self-destruction pattern. If she doesn't love men, there comes a pattern of boys' destruction, a failure to provide a favorable environment for child development. And my opinion is that we should do whatever you think is right. So if you've decided to use IVF, it's your responsibility. My take on that is that it's better to change your character, your way of thinking, to allow yourself to change your perception of life and be ready to fail. Be grateful and express your intention to enjoy life and be happy. Then I am sure the Lord will certainly give you what you want if you give birth to a happy and successful child who will make this world a better place.
Oh, I am totally against that. I have a client, and I wish I could show fertility doctors what kind of picture she draws about her pregnancy. Well, of course, that's their business. But anyway, if only I could explain them in simple terms that her state of mind says no to giving birth. Just imagine this. She represents herself as a pregnant woman with her legs fused above the knees. Just like that. So, everything is blocked over there. And, until it's unblocked. I think it's just unhuman to place a child inside. I don't know how else to explain this.
Listen, Natalia, I'll tell you this. When people have low energy, when they are de-energized, they always play the victim. They'll say, "You're all idiots. You owe me this and that. I am suffering here. You must change me." But when it concerns childbirth, if you need a helping hand, you will find one at the end of your arm. We change our mindset, our values, and the world around us changes too. But some people don't feel like changing. Instead, they want the world to change according to their needs, because that guy must be tolerant while he acts like a jackass and does nothing with his life. It's like, give me a loan, give me money and don't ask it back, provide conditions with a wave of a hand for me to have a child, and I'm going to go do nothing to change myself because the world must be tolerant to me. That's a conflict when the weak one manipulates the strong one. If the strong ones give in to the weak, they always die first while the weak keep living because the weak ones are like cancer cells. That's it. When you and I discuss this, we fuel a social conflict because 85% of people are passive and don't want to take responsibility. All they want is food, sleep, sex, a routine, and own things like a house or a car. They love routine. They're not interested in personal growth, but there is a universal principle. Time is a new energy, new information, higher vibrations, when today is different from yesterday. And what was good yesterday is not good enough today, and tomorrow it'll turn the world into a complete disaster. If we keep it like it was, unchanged, if we don't reconsider our values, we'll be destroying the world at a blistering pace because, like I said, it's all in our hands. We all live by universal laws, and these laws are based on love, which includes personal growth, new experiences, moving forward, uncertainty. It means that we accept whatever comes, start thinking positively, which means being kind and rising to a new level, the one that's different from the past. We stopped using counting frames, and at a certain point, we have to stop using calculators, as there will be a time when we will stop utilizing computers. But every time we will use those things, we will have beautiful counting frames, wonderful calculators, excellent computers, and top-notch artificial intelligence. But the most important thing is to use each tool in its own time. And when we offer an accounting clerk to do his job with a counting frame instead of a computer, this foot massager is of no use already. It's just the social trends that force past values and tell us what our ancestors did. This is manipulation. Our ancestors always lived in worse conditions than we. Mortality rates were higher. Women died before they would turn 66 because they couldn't have a cesarean section, and many other things were wrong. But these attempts to twist the facts and manipulate our minds provokes degradation, because any country can be successful, but to do this, the society needs to allow itself to succeed. And like I said, well-set priorities mean having children, raising them properly, allowing them to be self-reliant, trusting their guts, and sociable. To learn all this, children need to be in touch with the best part of our society, meaning that teachers and educators must be those people who earn a lot of money and allow themselves to be successful instead of struggling folks living on the edge and working as a teacher, trainer, doctor, or a faculty member without proper education. Because the future of our country is based on our children, which means that by investing in teachers, educators, doctors, and scientists, we form grounds for changes. But we also need to use new technologies. By the way, do you remember the time when the method of sonography was denied and treated like a fraud for decades? It's the same as having new technologies, but the pharmaceutical companies, sadly, won't allow us to use them by manipulating and making us cure the symptoms. They are, in fact, interested in having people sick rather than healthy. Not to mention that the food we eat is far from being healthy and environmentally friendly, and we do nothing about it. Here come the double and triple standards that lead to us having what we have. So our task is to love what we have, accept it, be grateful for it, and express the intention to keep growing on this front. If we stop disapproving and criticizing, as it only leads to self-destruction and makes us reluctant to try something new, and instead start expressing what we want to have and, if possible, move towards what we want, it's for sure that we will change the society.
And IVF is also sort of modern too, right? If we say that sonography is modern, the IVF is a modern thing too. I can say that we are overwhelmed with computers these days. And actually, I've just recalled reading a book by Eric Fromm. It was back in college, and Fromm predicted the sci-tech progress will actually replace personal communication and love. This idea was expressed in the 1970s, a few decades ago. It seemed like a fantasy as the history of the personal computer had just begun. You would go to a computer club to send out an email and so on. Today, it's quite normal that people spend so much time with their laptops than on a face-to-face communication. That's sort of modern. My question is how to find the balance and avoid temptations. I use my cell phone to do my job. I can't help it. And yet I feel the need to limit the time I spend with myself. It's kind of personal discipline. It's also kind of work. So who sets these limits and how can I set them for myself?
Well, it's pretty easy. The more technologies we have, the more discipline we need. That's it. I mean, if you have a horse cart and you're driving it, you need to glance around from time to time and be aware of the surroundings. But you understand that even if you run into something, the worst thing that may happen to you is a bent wheel. But if you're driving a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, you realize that these are race cars and you need to be 10 times more focused and careful. It takes more responsibility to drive a car than to ride a bike.
I remember asking you if a man must be the one to feed his family. It's a pretty hot topic these days. So, does the man have to be the breadwinner or does it really matter?
It depends on the family. I think it's better when partners are of one kind. When you find a man or a woman of your kind, you both have equal rights in your marriage, and in my opinion, a wife should grow as much as her husband. When a woman decides to be a housewife and take care of children, it's a degradation. That's what I think. It's a degradation because as much as raising children is important, she needs some self-actualization. Otherwise, her husband will either die, lose himself into drinking and cheating on her, or just leave her. Even if they say, my parents, lived happily together and didn't end up divorced, well, this lived happily is a big question. What we see from outside is one thing, and it doesn't matter. What matters is what the partners actually feel for each other. The happiness is when you do something new, when you transform yourself, and like I said, a couple can feel like just married all the time if they both grow and become an all-new person every day. To do this, you need to let your partner go and try new things. Let them maybe get their bumps and bruises, make their mistakes, but keep growing. Instead, if you limit your partner with your rules, dogmas, and old-fashioned views, and your partner agrees to that because he or she values family more than love, then you lose everything. Your family, your love, your health, your children, your relationship, and even the people around. It all goes down the drain.
I see. So the destruction, you mention it quite often. On the one hand, we can inflict self-destruction and it's no good. But on the other hand, it may be necessary, like a reboot, when you drop all your settings to a zero and have a fresh look, so to speak. How to identify this destruction when you go against your true self and the destruction you need to level up?
It depends on what you actually destroy, your past or your future. If you're destroying your past, you do good. If you destroy your future, you ruin yourself, your health, your life, because you're resisting new things and personal growth. You destroy the future version of yourself. When you break your old habits, so to speak, change your old-fashioned views, you break free and allow yourself open new horizons. And again, you shouldn't associate yourself with this, but we do limit ourselves to, I am a man or I am a woman, and understand that our priorities are happiness and joy. and we love only when we love ourselves, and then do not limit other people with your personal boundaries. When you forbid something to yourself, you don't allow other people to be better than you allowed yourself to be. That's why you should seek a partner of your kind.
So, if he's an accomplished person and she's a housewife, it's never gonna happen. And if she is a successful woman and he's not,
You know how it works. A couple comes to me for a consultation, and the woman comes in first. I tell her, sorry, I see you are a conformist, you have problems, and the business will go down as it's all based on female energy. She tells me, I like it the way it is. I don't want to change. We have enough money and everything is fine. So I think you are just talking down to me. All right, the choice is yours. Then I talk to the husband, and the first thing I ask him is, how long have you been having an affair with your mistress? All my life, he responds. Did you try to end it? I asked. He says, yeah, but my business starts crashing, and okay, I see. I interrogated him. Are you okay with this relationship? Well, not really, no. Why do you stay in the family? It's all for the children. Are they happy? No, not really. So what do you need to do? Get divorced, damn it. Why divorce? Because the woman is a traditionalist. She manipulates her husband, their children, their marriage, people around, her duties, and that's putting it mildly. She plays victim and will keep whining about her husband who doesn't love her. Situations like that are pretty transparent, and I always tell my clients that the woman's reluctance to change, her attempts to adapt, to tolerate her hesitation and isolation, all this will leave her husband with empty pockets and make him struggle against creditors, hanging between life and death, because, let's be honest, people don't like it when their debtors can't return their money. So I tell her, it's your problem. If the woman doesn't express her sexuality, her femininity, and thinks negatively, she's the one who causes problems.
what do you mean by think negatively?
It's when they express what they don't like and don't say how they want it to be. So they say, for instance, that they hate when it's cloudy instead of saying that they want it to be sunny. So when a couple came to me for a consultation 8 months later, she told me that she found out that her husband was having an affair. I asked her, so how did you find out? Then she goes, we've been listening to your lectures, and I realized that I didn't change, but he somehow started making more money and paying his debts off. So I squeezed him against the wall and asked, Palienko says if the woman doesn't grow, no money will come anymore. Well, I didn't grow. Where's this money from? Her husband admitted having an affair, and she made him break up with his mistress. What happened after? I asked. She said, well, now the business is going to be done again, and we're in debt. Well, I told her, you could have at least waited until you'd break even.
You mean she should have let him have an affair for a while?
Well, even in this case, I always say that the choice is yours. So if they choose negative thinking, no one can change them, but we can offer them options. If they don't agree, it's only my opinion. It's my opinion based on my experience. It's better to part, because when we start forcing, persuading, begging, freaking out, stressing out, and crying, we waste away success and self-actualization. We turn into losers. And in most cases, we might get sick, die, get in a car accident, or become terminally ill. We'll turn into suckers, failures, and all your negative programs and personality traits get revealed even though we used to be successful. Why so? It's because when you try to pull someone who doesn't want to be saved from their swamp, you end up being deeper dragged into this swamp than those whom we are trying to save.
That's cruel.
Well, the world is like this, and when we blame or save the weak ones, we in fact do not blame or save them. We just don't want to develop, to grow, and we find excuses by saying that we are saving those who don't want to take responsibility. And we disapprove of those who allegedly do something wrong. It's not true. It's an excuse for being losers. That's it.
So, you mean if you don't break up when the time comes, you are a loser?
Well, it's a question of taking responsibility and accepting the life we want. When I talk to a person and I tell him, you can have a lot more money, I often hear, I already have enough. I tell him, considering what you have, it's your minimal level, and you can have 100 times more. But look at your office. You made repairs 10 years ago. Your employees are stealing from you. They're slow and lazy. You didn't fire them. That's because you're so backward, and you deserve the shabby office you have. The income used to be higher. The workers who lie, betray, and steal from you. And you keep living like that and tolerate all this because you benefit from it. You're too small for the big money that can come to you. there you are.
How can you tell how much money one can earn? Is it some intuitive feeling?
You know, Natalia, it depends on what you allow yourself to have, how fast you process information, whether you admit your faults, whether you feel pity, guilt, envy, or aggression, and what's most important, you need to take time and pay attention to how the person talks. The higher the degree of blabbering about small and unimportant things, the bigger losers they are. This loser may even be successful to a certain extent, but he or she could be a lot more successful if he'd cut the bullshit. He literally talks his potential away. If a person has a huge potential, but they deny their mother, don't work on their attitude to women, no matter who they are, a man or a woman, if they have mother issues, they cannot be rich. They cannot be rich. They will not earn a lot of money. They may be gifted, that could be coming from the father, but until they accept their mother, they'll keep, as some bragger. And in this case, there's no point in shutting them up, because it will make it worse as they've denied themselves of wealth, and the compensation for it is energy drainage. This drainage may be different. Smoking, growing plants on your windowsill. If you live in the countryside and enjoy growing plants outdoors, it's okay. Getting too many cats, like 15 cats, is drainage too.
And dogs too. I just wanted to add that. I've always felt it's a little weird.
Yes, but we get dogs for slightly different reasons. It happens when we lack normal communication with our close circle, and sometimes we just need to get a dog for a child when a man and a woman lack healthy communication and the love in the family is missing. The dogs are about giving unconditional love. As for the cats, what's a cat? They take away the untapped potential that you might have used, but you didn't, and this potential may destroy you since bad is wasted good.
So, we need dogs and cats for different reasons?
Cats are about low-vibe energy, so if a woman doesn't want to get married, she intuitively gets a cat and it stays with her for good. To put it nicely, in some rare cases, she may get married, but her husband won't be the right man. We get a dog when we are reluctant to show self-love or care, when we deprive ourselves from close and sincere relationships, and when we want a person who could love us the way we want. So we get a dog instead, and it loves us unconditionally and wants to be loved back. By the way, one of the reasons why 99% of the dogs die of cancer is that they need to be loved back to enjoy love and learn new things. Otherwise, they get sick and die.
What if you don't want any animals? Am I normal?
It's considered that people live in harmony when they don't feel like smoking, don't feel like drinking, don't feel like getting dogs or growing plants on their windowsill. When we achieve this harmony, we take things easy, and even if we do get cats, they abandon us and run away, and if we get dogs, we don't need them. This need for pets is a form of compensation. When our zinc, iron, or calcium levels are low, we urgently eat food that contains these elements. When we crave for red or yellow colors, it means we lack grounding or character. It's management through energies. We fall in love with people who have that something we lack, but instead we need to love because of our abundance, when we're full of love and we grow through this love. These are different kinds of love. When you love because of abundance, you live in the four-dimensional world and accept whatever comes to us. Cats, dogs, flowers, losers, vampires. Our heart is full of love, and we love unconditionally. When we still live in the three-dimensional world, we need to be careful, as we are vulnerable when we see the world as good versus bad, right versus wrong, black versus white. There is a risk to lose everything because we deny ourselves from what's best for us and choose things that are not compatible with our growth.
So you mean that we use dogs or cats to fill the gaps instead of developing our feelings?
I would say these are the processes we use to save ourselves. Meanwhile, when we reach the next level, we can have cats, dogs, own cars, We can live in a treehouse or in a gorgeous villa. We rise above the situation. When we are inside the situation, we need to grow and become fortunate, healthier, and wealthier. We need to keep a careful eye on our nutrition, with whom we communicate, and make sure that people around us bring us positive vibes and are on the same page with us.
Let me make it clear for myself. So people, in principle, can have dogs, cats, and grow flowers, and that will be a form of compensation, filling the gaps in their personal growth. Or they can have cats, dogs, and grow flowers because they're full of creative love.
Exactly.
But when you look at them from the outside, they look quite the same.
Absolutely the same. More than that, the person who is using this compensation with dogs, cats, and flowers will be more or less balanced because all these things absorb excessive energy. And another person whose heart is open and full of abundant love doesn't really care about these cats or flowers or anything else. To him or her, nothing really matters. It's because he accepts the world as it is and accepts himself as he is. The problem is that we don't accept ourselves when it comes to laws that limit us. But it's not a question of events. It's about your attitude to them, and we always have problems regarding our worldviews, the law framework, and our priorities. When we change a person's priorities and values that are based on the reflexes, the problem vanishes. If you were sick, the disease will go away, allergies will disappear, all financial, family, or interpersonal issues get resolved naturally. People start communicating with you more, they offer cooperation, and some changes are so huge that they seem almost impossible. What did we do to make that happen? We simply changed the events using our mindset and laws by which we live.
And yet, why do we tend to help out the people who are reluctant to move forward or are just slow?
It's because we are reluctant to grow. We want to interact with someone and quickly reboot our systems through this interaction. Years ago, I used to do it a lot because I didn't love myself enough and subconsciously refused to be wealthy and grow. So I used to surround myself with so many people who didn't take responsibility for their lives and used people around. I really enjoyed being among them and felt drained into them. At some point, I realized that it was enough. I wasn't interested in that anymore, and back then, so many people took offense at me. Let's say they lost their access to free information, free content.
Lost their donor, right?
And they ceased having the potential and opportunities that they used for free, so to say. Yes, I became an awkward person for them. And until I enter this fourth dimension where I feel the world through consuming all unconditionally consuming love, well, that means I need to get rid of all claims and limitations that I have towards my close circle. Here by limitations, I mean my expectations of what they need to do and how to act. The social environment, in fact, may even reject this ultimate love as it implies accepting and loving all kinds of things that might even contradict family values or business ethics, and accepting people who lie, betray, or who, let's say, cheat. Meanwhile, it's nothing but our personal attitude. In fact, people always act the way they should have been acting considering what they feel inside, their inner world. You know that whatever happens inside is projected outside. So when the outside, external things are stable, unchanging, and conservative, it means that deep inside, we do not accept something due to our limitations and dogmas.
Do you have a mentor?
No, I don't.
Isn't it scary?
Not at all. I communicate with people who are in the process of growing. I enjoy listening to those who see me from the outside. And this word frightening, to be scared, reflects the fear of death. When you accept death, this fear goes away, and all you have after that is pure joy, love of life, and understanding that there's no actual death. It's just a transition to a new level, which is much better than the present one. Everyone I know from those who have survived a clinical death and remembers how it was, agree that it was so unbelievably cool that they didn't want to get stuffed back in the body. No one wanted to go back. They all wanted to stay there.
How to get through a loss of a loved one? We all see it like a misfortunate event, and I even felt guilty that when my father died, I didn't feel like it was a tragedy. I saw that everything was going that way, that he was ready to pass away, and it was probably even better for him.
Again, it's all about dogmas. It's all about cliches. The grieving ones are actually those who want to harm the deceased, as we disturb their peace and harmony because our energy of grief makes a strong impact on those who have passed away. For instance, when my mother died, I took it rather calmly for a simple reason. First, we didn't have any connection whatsoever between us, so I took it just as a matter of fact. However, it's part of my job, to communicate with people who, let's say, are sick and ask me tricky questions. And there are, of course, some mortality cases. I saw some people die. Therefore, I guess that this experience, when I saw what happens to them after death, helps me take it so easily and calmly to me that there is no such thing as death. It doesn't exist. Of course, we all have plans to do this, and that with a certain person, do some projects, explore some opportunities, make this world a better place to be. The failure to implement these plans may be disappointing for me, in case the person I have big plans for will pass away, or if I leave this world before I do this and that. However, if I am taken, then it was meant to be. I'm telling you, a friend of mine who survived the clinical death on 2 occasions told me how she didn't want to come back. It was so cool over there, how she felt lifting from her body and flying above, how she floated through a tunnel filled with white light. She never felt that happy. Then she saw some people in white gowns who told her to go back to her physical body. She didn't want to. She told them they could go if they wanted to, but she was staying. They physically forced her back in the body, and next time, she said, when she went through another clinical death, she knew they wouldn't let her stay, as she had a lot of unfinished things on Earth. So she tried to escape from them, but they caught her, tied up, and put back in the physical body. Now she says that her only thought is to finish her tasks and leave this place and go to a better world.
So you mean she sees death in such a positive way?
Well, she went through the clinical death and remembered that state of euphoria. So when she fulfills all her tasks here, she'll go there, to a better world, to enjoy it, and it will be cool.
Do you believe in heaven and hell?
We create our own heaven and hell with our way of thinking. When we talk about hell, it's nothing but the 8th chakra, as I call it, but not many know about it. In this condition, when you raise to the highest levels of vibrations, being limited with some laws and associating yourself with these laws, you feel the heat of these vibrations that create some images which, figuratively speaking, immediately materialize themselves into Gehenna with its fires and boilers. Everyone sees it according to the experience they've had in the past, and this experience manifests itself in accordance with the information realm we live in. And as long as the information forms into events and images that you see, they get all that. Heaven, in its turn, is a place where you're happy and full of joy. It's when you listened to your heart, when you loved yourself and was true to yourself and honest.
I have one more interesting question. I often see people buying expensive jewelry and they think, oh, it's so beautiful and stylish, I must have it. Then they have an opportunity to buy an expensive workshop and they think, uh-oh, Palienko will make this pile of money on me? In other words, here comes the greediness that makes them give a lot of money and won't get anything in return, like jewelry or a car. The thing is that those who make jewelry or cars, they also make money on their clients and nobody envies them. Nobody counts their money. Yet, when we talk about workshops and seminars, I hear people talking, the speaker will just earn this pile of money and I will get nothing material in exchange?
Why not? I think it's really cool, you know. I myself strictly limit the access to my seminars by setting high prices. I do it to make sure that my seminars will be attended by those who are of my kind, on the same page with me. I know that some people are interested and want to try, and we offer several levels of free content too. There are up to 800 videos in unlimited access now. You can immerse in watching them anytime and enjoy the best of it. Those who want more pay less than $5 and get access to longer workshops and webinars. I think getting a monthly subscription for the price of a cup of coffee for all this is a pretty good deal. Then come webinars that cost a little more, about $100. You'll be provided with powerful content. People who choose them see deep changes in their lives, and after a webinar, they can also attend seminars and private sessions and consultations. And like I said, if you're not ready, don't come. If you work really hard to earn money, don't come. I will not solve your problems. I will make you happy or wealthy. I will not heal you. If you need a helping hand, you'll find one at the end of your arm. If you come to me, come because of your essence, to keep your heart open and be sure that whatever happens is for the better. If you visit our website, you'll see this statement written in big red letters. If you work hard to make money, if our prices are too high for you, don't come, don't pay. We'll do our best to help you find answers to your questions in our free videos or sponsored videos that will cost you only $5.
Thanks a lot for this interview. It was really awesome. I'm not even sure if the word awesome can describe it, I should say. This talk was encouraging.